I think unfortunately social media has turned cosplay into like this fashion show of you have to look god tier or don't even bother.
Your mistress welcomes you back to another video, and today with a special treat. We get to talk to Lady Sylvanas and Anduin. We're going to be exploring multiple topics when it comes to cosplay, especially the mental health aspect that goes into it. If you are a new or cosplayer aspirant, you're definitely going to want to check into this conversation. Alrighty, switching screens here, I now have Darklady Cosplay and Khel Cosplay. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and kind of tell us about, your occupation, if you have one outside of cosplay, how long you've been cosplaying, and what are your socials? Where can we find you?
Darklady wants to go first.
Oh, such a gentleman. Thanks, Anduin. Hello, everyone. I am Kira, or Darklady. I've been a cosplayer for 19 years this year. I'm kind of a grandma. I've seen it all. I've seen the Sharpie baths and the Sharpie dyed wigs and the super glue and things and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I did it too. We've all been there. I am a professional cosplayer. This is my occupation, which I'm very lucky to say. I've done all kinds of stuff. I've been flown across the globe to do cosplay stuff, which is really, really cool. Predominantly specialize in, of course, Blizzard. You can see all the Blizzard shenanigans everywhere. And yeah, that's me. I'm just a gamer girly who likes Blizzard way too much. And that's okay.
Is there too much? I don't know if there's a too much.
And your socials?
Oh, my socials are, you can find me on, sorry, I'm like, I don't need You can find me on TikTok, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube at Darklady Cosplay, which is a fun lore fact. So before I became Darklady Cosplay, I was called Kirichi Cosplay, and I used to predominantly do Sailor Moon. So when I transitioned into doing mostly Blizzard Entertainment and World of Warcraft, I changed my name to Darklady's other name translation is Dark Lady. So I wanted it to also nod to my past as well as what I currently do. Fun little lore fact.
That is a good lore fact. I did not know that.
I'm Khel Cosplay. I actually only just started cosplaying in 2023. Corrupted Anduin was actually I call it my first actual cosplay. Technically my first one was like Jedi robes that I bought for Boston Comic Con that none of it was made by myself. So the first thing I did was Corrupted Anduin, and then I don't know if I would necessarily consider myself a professional cosplayer, but I was certainly not expecting and completely honored to be invited by Blizzard by not just one but two events, and hopefully more in the future. I do IT, help desk stuff, and my socials, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at Khel Cosplay.
And Khel, just to expand really briefly, I remember that Corrupted Anduin cosplay. Did you just decide to do that on your own, or were you like asked to do that, or?
Just decided to do it on my own.
Wow.
I thought it had been my dream to at least walk across the stage, the exhibition stage at BlizzCon. I wanted to enter the competition and at least be considered as a finalist, and I knew if I was doing something, it had to be something that nobody's done before, and it had to blow it out of the water.
That is completely understandable. Just moving along here, I asked you guys both on here because I thought that what you do is something completely and entirely amazing, and it was definitely something that needed to be talked about. And when I first discovered, well, actually, like I said, like I had seen you before, Khel, at the previous BlizzCon, and everyone knows Darklady. She is the Sylvanas, but essentially, I just wanted to kind of talk about this scene at the Warcraft 30th event where we got to see the most legendary thing I had ever seen in my little nerd at life, which is Khel and, the Anduin and Darklady bowing to each other in like a show of faith. Let me play the clip right here. what an actual privilege it was to witness something like that. Can you guys kind of expand on what the behind the scenes was with something like that, like planning that out, getting that together? Like, what was the conversation like in the background when it came to that?
A lot of what they told us, like, have fun. Like, they very much didn't give us a whole lot of, like, direction per se. And I think it's because, like, they've worked with Chris and I before, and they kind of know that we work well together, and we're gonna, like, bounce off each other and play around, and we know to walk. Like, they just really told us to just have fun. Have fun with everyone, you know, mingle.
Yeah, they really allowed us to be creative in our own ways. You know, one of the conversations that we had is like, you know, we don't want to constrain you to, you know, a bunch of set of rules. You know, as Darklady said, that they've known us in our performance and how we interacted with the fans and Washington, and they were completely comfortable letting us do our own off-script improv type thing for the whole event.
Quick question: what was Washington? Was that the football game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. How was that, by the way?
Cold.
Such
a high.
Incredibly cold.
Man, it was cold.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know how cold it was going to be. I pretty much just had, like, I was expecting it to be warm, to be honest, because it was really, really hot when I was in California. So underneath the armor, I had put on, like, breathable Under Armour in 40-degree cold weather for 40 hours, and that was the wrong move. So.
Oh, wow. So you guys were out there for like 40 hours.
So we were out there for 4 hours.
Oh.
It was, there are multiple times I remember Darklady just, like, shivering in her spot. I could, like, hear her armor clanking together.
Man,
well, I'm glad you guys had fun. Like, yeah, no, that did look good. It did look good.
We were on a high, and it was so much fun, and, like, what an honor and privilege to get to be a part of. At one point, one of the attendee, like, people helping us, put hot packs on my legs while I was taking a break, and that was really funny.
I remember that.
Oh, wow. I had no idea, because, like, when we saw it, I was just like, oh, wow. I remember feeling like, man, I should have went out to Washington just to go see, because I think it was like, what was the team? I think it was like the Washington Wolves or something like that. Yeah, something like that, but it looked really cool.
Huskies, yeah.
The Huskies, yeah. And when I saw it, I was like, oh wow, this looks actually really amazing. Like, you guys look like you really showed up and had fun, which is something I really have been enjoying watching you both do. And I know, Khel, you're kind of like newer to the scene, and, like, you know, you probably wouldn't consider yourself like a professional or something like that, but you know, you are actually amazing, and I think you do a good job. Moving on to the second topic here that I wanted to talk about. So just going to get a little bit deeper into the conversation here with you both. I just want to say that it obviously takes courage to do what you do. And I'm just curious, and this is the topic that I want to expand on for the people at home, especially for the cosplay aspirants or people that are too scared to cosplay. What are some of, just starting with you, Darklady, since you've been doing it longer, what are some of the things that you do to strengthen your mind, and like, what are the things that you prepare yourself to do to get on stage in front of 1,000 people that, you know, as one of the two main characters in the Blizzard universe?
I get, like, for me, Sylvanas is almost like looking in a mirror in the best ways and the worst ways. And I've been open about that for many years, that Sylvanas's weaknesses are also mine, and her problems, some of them are also mine. And it's like looking in a mirror, and it's like really exciting to play someone that you so closely mirror in a lot of your aspects of life. And it's like that like, you're like, all right, I gotta psych myself up because I get to play Sylvanas for everyone around me. And, like, what a cool thing to... So I was sharing 2 weeks ago was my 8-year Warcraft anniversary for cosplaying World of Warcraft, and Sylvanas was my first. So I've been cosplaying Sylvanas for 8 years, which is a long time to dedicate to one character. But man, I love her, and it's so cool to, like... And I know how much Sylvanas means to other people. Sylvanas means a lot, especially to women. Sylvanas means so much. So it's taking that character and all that love and care and getting to give people that moment with Sylvanas, you know, to just, it's like when you go to Disney World, right? And you see a Disney princess for the first time, or, you know, you have those emotions because this character is in the physical flesh, and that's something so special and so precious to also take into consideration when you play a character, you know, especially one like Sylvanas that is very important to trauma survivors and things like that. And getting to be the vessel for that feeling is so cool, and it's what, no matter what's going on, no matter how people get about my portrayal of Sylvanas, if they like what I look like or whatever, I'm like, I am a vessel right now to play this character for Blizzard and for everyone here because she's so important, and that's kind of like the mindset I get in, and just have fun. I'm like, this girl is so kick-ass, you know. Sylvanas is up there on like empowering women and women that have been through hell and back, and she is still there fighting as like, she's just so important, and I think I like channel all of that into being her, and that's what gives me the strength to play Sylvanas as much as, and why I love her, you know. So that's my list.
Ooh, let me just stop you for a second. Like, I am just in tears because, like, who among us doesn't have that one favorite character that we absolutely resonate with and like just feel that character in our bones? All right, this isn't about me. Go ahead, Khel. What are, just to repeat the question, what are some things, and especially you as being newer to the cosplay scene, what is it like, what did you have to do to prepare yourself to get up in front of thousands of people?
So that kind of goes back to a mentality that I had in my earlier 20s. We'll make a long story short. In my previous marriage, I had a father-in-law who thought that if you played games at all, even just a cell phone game, you weren't mature enough to date his daughter. And I spent more time than I wanted to trying to fit the mold of somebody else so that I could be accepted. And eventually I just got tired of it. It's like, I have a passion for games. I have a passion for compelling stories. I really, really, loved playing Warcraft, and I feel like my personality is basically being ripped away to satisfy somebody else. And that's when it kind of hit me that being considered mature and being considered an adult is when you stop trying to fit other people's mold and you follow your passion. If you have a passion for pottery, if you have a passion for knitting, it doesn't matter what it is. Somebody's going to think it's dumb, but one of the greatest things about the internet is you're going to find an entire community who's just as passionate as you are about it. And that's when I kind of started just being my own person. I just decided that the definition of maturity is following my passions and doing what I want. So that's where I kind of pull from that, because Warcraft isn't just a game, it's a community of people who love the game just as much as you do. And when I'm in Washington and at the 30th event and at BlizzCon and at BlizzCon next year, it's not just cosplaying, it's cosplaying and sharing that experience with everyone else who loves the game just as much as I do.
The cool thing
Y'all got me crying. Sorry, go ahead, Darklady.
I think Chris and I actually talked about this. The really cool thing about like a Blizzard event is that every single person in that room you have a connection with.
Yeah.
Because you play at BlizzCon, you play one of 5 games. And at a Warcraft event, you all play Warcraft. It doesn't matter when you started, but you played Warcraft. And I think that's so cool and special. So you have that like extra, I don't know, connection with people where you're like, I don't have to explain like what I love and what I do. We can just go ahead and talk. Like, you played
there's no pre-game like, oh, you play WoW? Yeah, I play WoW. No, it's just like, hey, I like your character, or something like that. There's no guesswork. It's what we're all here to do. Yeah.
You scare me if you PvP.
Yeah, I love PvP. I was just PvPing earlier. Just to, kind of get the edge off. Actually, I was very nervous to come in here and talk to you guys today. So, like, I actually had to run some arenas today because I was like, I just need to get the edge off.
Like that edge off, yeah.
What'd you say, Khel?
Just to take that edge off, yeah.
Yeah, just to take the edge off. Alrighty, let's move on to the next topic I wanted to talk about. Continuing off the previous topic of, what do you do to get prepared for all this? About me, I am someone who is not, a professional cosplay. I'm someone who cosplays completely less than a professional scale. I love to, make outfits and, kind of remix characters and stuff like that, and really put the play in cosplay. Essentially, me personally, I am not immune to body shaming, bullying, or, my outfits getting picked apart. I'm just wondering, is that something that happens to you guys still? Like, have you encountered any, picking apart, any negativity or anything that kind of makes you just like, ugh, I don't feel like being on screen today, or anything like that?
I can speak a lot about that. Being in this for 19 years and not having what people would consider a conventionally attractive face. People are very mean. And like, while cosplay is one of the most beautiful things in the world, and I will glaze cosplay to the end of the universe, beauty standards are a thing. And when it comes to, like, I predominantly cosplayed anime, and there is a box people want to put you in. Yes. And if you don't look, that way, it's really rough. And I have a very Warcraft face. That very edgy, harsh, I have a jawline, I have a stronger nose, like that kind of face. And it was a struggle for like 11 years, being like, people just being mean about my appearance. I looked too mature, I didn't look young enough, my face was too harsh, my nose wasn't the right shape, I have a little bit of an RBF. Like, it's like trying to fit into this mold, until I actually got to talk with a Hearthstone podcaster. He actually brought the conversation of like, how cool was it to play World of Warcraft and you finally saw yourself and you're the beauty standard, is like such a nice thing. And people are still really mean about what I look like, but far less, I would say, because Blizzard keeps putting out art of Sylvanas and we look a lot alike, so I can be like,
yeah, like, this is literally my twin. I don't know what you're saying.
Don't be mean to me, I play her. Like, so, cosplay is supposed to be this, it doesn't matter what you look like. While yes, I look like a Warcraft character, that really shouldn't matter at the end of the day. It is about fun and about exploring creativity and exploring characters, doing closet cosplays and playing. It's cosplay. It's playing. So people get so strange about, you have to look identical and canonical. And, if you don't have the same millimeter length of hair, how dare you even put this? It's crazy.
Yep.
And you're like, this is just for fun, man. I go to Sylvanas, like, conventions as Sylvanas with no body paint on, because I live in Florida. I made a joke that I wouldn't put body paint on again until Blizzard hired me, and then they did like 2 weeks later, and I still laugh about that. But it is very, like, and it's something I try to advocate and speak about. I mean, I'm constantly praising Blizzard for the faces and the way they design their characters, because it is a diverse group of people, and they're getting more and more, right? We're seeing more and more as the stories keep progressing, which is really cool. And like, people hated seeing the cinematic of Zolototh because they're like, dang, she looks old. I'm like, yeah, Zolototh is thousands of years old.
Yeah.
And she looks of a void elf. She's not gonna look like she woke up and put a, Facetune filter on. That is what a woman looks like. Yeah. I know you guys don't know what those look like, but, I was like, it's this, and that's why I praise certain things, because it's so important to remember we're all human beings. We look like human beings. There's no filter in real life. These characters aren't real. Not one of them. They don't have to look like real people, but we're real people. And that's like the important thing, to just be like, these aren't even real. I'm gonna have fun. I don't have to look like them. I don't have to be the same height, same whatever, like. But gosh, sometimes people drive me nuts. And I'm not nice about it, because I'm like, don't be mean.
Don't be mean. Yeah.
I'm not. I'm like, don't be mean.
You should be nice about it.
It takes a long haul.
Khel, do you ever get any of that stuff? Like, do you ever?
I saw a bit of that when the cosplay pictures and videos were making their rounds in BlizzCon 23. I saw comments making their rounds after the Washington event, and then I saw people being negative. Some people, I honestly think it's like 1% people being negative, 99% being positive for Darklady and I's dancing videos that I got like 18,000 views or something like that.
Up to 100,000 views on TikTok.
Nice.
Is it really? Good Lord. But I personally think that people who are internally happy don't waste their time making mean comments on the internet. They have better things to do, like enjoying their life. So it kind of helps me ignore those comments, knowing that a lot of those people are probably not saying things because they actually think it. They're just saying it because misery loves company, and if they're miserable, they want to make other people miserable too. And that kind of goes with my comments earlier about being wanting to do what I have a passion for. People making fun of us for making comments on the dancing video that, you know, cosplayers are for losers, or this is so cringe, or something like that. And is, you know what, it's like, I'm so far up in the clouds from this event.
Yeah.
The comments don't even touch me. It's like, I had fun. The people that I interacted with had fun. We were having fun on the dance floor. It's just, you know, brush it off your shoulder. Their opinions don't matter.
And I just want to kind of like ping off of that is by saying that there are a demographic of people that think that you're up there and you're obviously, you know, up there under the banner of Blizzard, and, you know, you're representing Blizzard, you know, by cosplaying as their character and stuff like that, and they deem you to be a professional. And some people are really harsh, or, you know, they think that because you're a professional that you are not human. You know, you see these comments of, you know, people basically picking you apart because they think that because you're a professional you should be within less than 1/8 or, you know, 0.8% exactly as the character. And I definitely brought this topic up because I wanted to kind of just highlight the fact that, you know, for anyone listening out there, what they're saying is not untrue, but also remember that you are a human at the end of the day, and so as the person that you are, you know, if you decide to criticize them because you think that they're professional and they, you know, are supposed to look, you know, this close to the thing, you know, of the character. And I recall talking about this briefly with Darklady, is that we talked about how cosplaying professionally is just a whole nother beast. And that's probably one of the issues that you face as a professional cosplayer, you know, is just constantly getting picked apart because, you know, Sylvanas' nose is a little bit more narrow than yours, or, you know, she doesn't have a mole on her, you know, face or something like that, or her eyebrow is more arched, you know, something like that. You know, they really will pick you apart for those little things. And I just wanted to kind of just highlight, because you guys, I deem you as professionals, so I just wanted to highlight for the people listening at home that it doesn't matter if you're professional or amateur or whatever like that. We're all going to face these same comments, but it's how we deal with them and kind of, you know, and realize that there is more love than hate. Like Khel was saying, that only 1% of the people, you know, really had something they had to really pull that negativity out of their ass, because at the end of the day there really was no reason to hate on what you guys were doing. So a lot of times people just really have to pull that hate out of their ass because they just have to be rude or mean or something like that. And a lot of us really do love what you do.
I was going to add on to that. I mean, that's the point. That's what they're trying to do. Their sole purpose of making these comments is to try to bother you, is to try to get under your skin on some level. And when you, for me personally, I guess, when I stop and think that they're intentionally trying to get under my skin, that's when it just kind of does the opposite effect for them. I haven't commented on any of the negative comments in there just because it's not worth it.
Good. That is good. That is strength. That is the mental fortitude that I wish I had in my cosplay journey. One of the more important things when it comes to like what you guys are saying is that we all go through this stuff, and you guys showing your strength in the matter and, you know, showing your fortitude in the matter really does help, you know, newer or younger or cosplay aspirants, you know, get started. You know, I feel like a good leader is someone who not only goes through the things that we go through, but they show us how to deal with what we're all going through. And I think that's something that you guys definitely demonstrate, especially in the World of Warcraft, you know, universe, where a lot of people are, you know, intent on being negative about literally everything. So you guys definitely show a good strength that people need to see out there. I'm having so much fun, by the way, guys. Thank you again so much for talking to me.
It is a lot of fun.
So moving on here, we chatted about the nitty gritty, but I wanted to get into one, how amazing you both are, you know, as cosplayers. I want to also, you know, go into if you had any tips on how to get started, or if you had to just basically one or two tips. We'll start with Darklady since you've been doing it longer, but one or two tips on, you know, anyone starting cosplay or a cosplay aspirant. It doesn't really have to be on mental health, just maybe just anything that some little cosplayling out there could use.
So when I was 10 years old, I didn't understand cosplay. I couldn't craft. I didn't know. I was 10. I went to Goodwill. I bought some clothing that looked like Riku from Kingdom Hearts. And I went to a little anime event. As a 10-year-old, like a cute little, I had blonde hair. So I was like, I'm Riku. And that's where it can always start. Don't feel like you have to come out of the woodwork looking like me on your first time. That took 19 years. You know, you can start with just, I really like Jaina. Do a side braid, or if you don't have that long hair, who cares? You know, put together a cute little inspired by and have fun. That's the whole like point. Nothing has to be crazy. I think unfortunately social media has turned cosplay into like this fashion show of you have to look god tier or don't even bother, but like the whole core of cosplay is playing and enjoying fandom, right? It's like you love whatever, and there's a group of people that also love whatever, and you're gonna make a connection and have fun just exploring the passion of that character. And if you enjoy doing your basic like I got an outfit off whatever website, or I went to Goodwill or whatever thrift store, I, you know, threw stuff together and you enjoy it, you can keep exploring and expanding on that. Do you like foam crafting? Do you like 3D printing? Do you like sewing? Do you like crafting, you know, weapon? What do you like? Do you not like any of that? Do you just want to commission somebody? Do you just want to buy things and put the outfit on? That's also valid. Do you like the performance aspect of cosplay? Because there's like performance competitions that you can do, and like role play. You know, there's so many little avenues that you can explore that's really beautiful about cosplay and fandom. And you can find your little home with your people. No matter how obscure you think it is or weird you think it is, there's somebody else that you can make that connection with and have your fun little party. You know? And I always advocate people look for that. Don't feel like cosplay is this one thing you see very showcased on social media of like you have to look XYZ and you gotta come out and you gotta stand in the middle of Katsucon and, you know, take pictures all day and look like a god. You don't have to do that. You can show up in random clothing and just have fun. Like, it's that exploration of fandom that kind of makes it beautiful.
Yeah, part of the thing to keep in mind is when you see people's photos and videos of their amazing, just incredibly articulately designed and crafted cosplays, and it's got LEDs and stuff like that. What you don't see behind the scenes is the 20 times they messed up on that one piece until they finally got it right. You're seeing the final product and thinking, oh man, they did it the first time. Absolutely not. I can't tell you how many pieces of corrupted Anduin I had to reprint and repost process just to get it looking like the way that I did. And so corrupted Anduin was my first actual cosplay that I built by that I actually built. But what people don't know, and that I try to put out there as much as possible when people compliment me on it, is that I heavily leaned on Roxas because she's had years of 3D printing, post-processing tips and things like that. I must have bothered her like every hour of the day in the early parts of it, asking questions about post-processing. What do I do now? It almost felt like kind of like a little kid holding somebody's hand, because it's just like, you know, I don't feel like I have any business doing this because I should be doing it on my own. But through, you know, there were things that I did on my own. I learned how to solder my first time. I learned how to, you know, run lights and connect the LEDs. But to get back to the main point, what you see online is, or what you don't see online is the dozens of times they failed at a cosplay. You're never going to see. So I attempted in 2019 was the first BlizzCon that I actually attended. I had made a really bad Heroes of the Storm Anduin cosplay, and I had costume malfunction that pretty much rendered the whole thing bad, which is probably for the better, because if I can help it, nobody will ever see any of those pictures. They were horribly awful. You want to see those?
I'll
I
trade
will
you.
send.
We'll trade cringy photos. How about that?
Okay, well, I think I've got you beat. But some people didn't believe me when they said that this was my first cosplay. Like, genuinely didn't believe me that I was just trying to humble brag, or I was lying about it, or I was like, no, honestly, like, this is my first one. But you don't know that pretty much every single night for 3 months leading up to BlizzCon 23, Roxas and I were staying up building it. Right up until, I mean, it was like literally like right up until the day that we left, and we were actually still E6000ing some pieces together Friday morning of the convention. So like it was rough. But those are the behind the scenes things that you don't see.
So essentially, what you guys are both saying is, to anyone new out there, Rome wasn't built in a day, and
Yep.
the things that you're seeing, those lovely, big, juicy, amazing cosplay that you're seeing, they have not gone without thousands of hours of
Mhm.
error and playing around and teaching yourself new instruments on how to, the soldering iron
Yeah.
and, hot glue guns and stuff like that, and sewing too.
hmm
So, there is a lot of stuff when it comes to cosplay. And, just to say, Rome was not built in a day, and you shouldn't worry about, like what Darklady was saying, you shouldn't worry about coming out of the box, fresh and professional and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It takes years and months, days, weeks to get all this stuff together. And like Khel was saying, to even, and Khel, is Roxas, is that like,
She's
who
my
is that?
partner, my girlfriend.
Okay, got you.
We
So
love her.
we love Roxas. I can't wait to see her if we ever get to meet her. But you and Roxas, put in hours upon hours on making patterns and stuff like that. And let me just tag in really quickly on the 3D printing thing. Just going to touch on that really briefly. There are
Mhm.
some people out there, Khel, that, deem 3D printing to be, a cheat on cosplaying
Yep.
and stuff like that. But what I want to say is that, putting in what Darklady said, like about the, people expecting it to be a fashion show and stuff like that, it really does
hmm
take the play out of cosplay. So
Yep.
we really need to, as a cosplay community, apply that here again when it comes to 3D printing. You know what I'm saying? Like, because at the end of the day, when we look at your armor, or when we look at people that have 3D printed armor, you can't 3D print strapping on the pauldrons. You can't 3D print, putting the
Yeah.
leather together. You can't 3D print the paint job, the sanding, the heat guns, and all. You
hmm
can't 3D print a lot of that stuff. And I mention that because I want people listening at home that maybe want to start 3D printing, or people that are listening and they are kind of harping on people that 3D print. Just wanted to highlight that, that is another thing that takes a lot of work. You may think, anyone at home, you may think that it's easier to 3D print stuff because there's a machine making it. However, who makes those? I assume here in your instance, Khel, is that Roxas was making the patterns.
Uh, so funny enough, we actually found the patterns for and corrupted Anduin online. We had paid for the design,
Mm,
all of the post processing, all of the lights, everything else. The painting was done by us. But that was, I mean, that was kind of thing. I particularly like 3D printed because I've gone back and forth with that as well. I've
mm,
struggled with 3D printing isn't actually cosplaying. Or
mm,
if you have 3D printing, it shouldn't be entered into competitions, or it should have its own category because not as much effort was put into it as people who um, drew the patterns for foam. But to me, it just kind of more seems like old guard gatekeeping.
mm,
I
mhm,
like 3D printed pieces because um, I like the weight that the armor feels on me. I don't think Darklady, I don't think you ever felt Anduin's breastplate, but that thing's heavy. That thing's like a solid 12 or 13 pounds.
Oh wow.
It's probably as heavy as all the stuff on War Chief because she's also 3D printed.
Yeah,
That's why
she's
exactly
3D printed
accurate.
as well.
Yeah.
The armor helps me. The weight of the 3D print helps me get into character because I actually feel like
Yes.
I'm the only way to simulate that if you're doing foam is if you like add weights
Left
to it
on it.
somewhere inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're looking to get into whatever you're looking to get into, whether it's 3D printing or foam, I've said before and I'll continue saying it, Camu Cosplay is one of the big sources of inspiration for making me believe I can do something. She has her and Benny have an
Wait,
enormous
sorry
amount.
to cut you off. Are we talking about Kamui cosplay?
Is that Kamui
Got
Cosplay?
you.
We
Yeah, I
pronounced it
love her.
differently.
Yep.
Yeah, she's got incredibly just simple bracer designs, simple shield designs. Name a piece of armor, she's just got a very simple way that takes not a whole lot of steps to make it, and she's got the videos and the books to guide you through it. So even if you're not going to debut it, make a piece. See how it goes.
I always
Yeah.
tell people the easiest thing to make is a bracer. If you want to see if you like foam crafting, it is just one piece, you slap some glue on it, you got a bracer, and then you can put whatever you want on. And you can figure out if you like foam smithing. If you hated that whole process, you'll either learn to love it or you'll move on to something else. If you loved it, you got everything else now. That was the hard.
Absolutely.
Like, that was your intro.
Absolutely.
Be creative.
And also, just speaking of the cosplay competitions, Kel, I believe, because I have competed in competitions before, and some of them, the categories, I don't know if there's anything about 3D printing yet, but when I last did it, there was something about like your cosplay has to be like 80% handmade or something like that. So they typically have rules like that, in that. But I'm glad that we got a chance to expand on that because that was one topic that, that I felt like needed to be explored and kind of talked about from your end as someone who had 3D printed and basically what's it like doing what you do. But honestly, I think that's the end of the conversation. I would like to heartfully thank you both for getting on here and talking to me. This is going to, honestly, I hope, enlighten the masses, and not only just enlighten but encourage. I feel like, me, I'm not a professional cosplayer, but I feel like, all three of us as cosplayers, it is our responsibility to help newer cosplayers or baby cosplayers get into this, because we have to make sure that we exhibit our strength so that, we keep them safe, mentally, and we want to encourage them by, them getting to see us out here confident and stuff like that, because it does take a lot of confidence and courage to do what any cosplayer has done, even if it's going to a convention, taking a photo or something like that, because, I'm sure you guys it's happened to you, right? Like when you're walking down like a corridor, or I live in an apartment building, I'm walking down the hallway with big peacock feathers on or something like that. I'm like, hey, how's it going? They're like, you know what I'm saying? So it takes a lot of courage. You said what?
There she goes.
Yeah.
Once again.
Yeah. So it takes a lot of courage. And I just, wanted to get on here and show people that, you guys are not immune to anything that anybody else is going through. And we all have to go through it. And we all just have to make sure that we bolster each other and, keep this community of love and chilling out and hanging out and cosplaying going. But before we get out of here, just want to kind of, ask you guys one more time to just tell us about your socials. Where can we find you? Do you have any more upcoming projects before we get out of here?
So I don't have any upcoming cons that I'm attending. I am currently working on Terralion. I did kind of take a break from it just because I had a bunch of things coming up. I had school full-time last semester. I was staying up like 3 in the morning doing coursework and coding and stuff, so I haven't had too much time. Now I'm just kind of like waiting for the midnight trailer to see if Anduin's armor changes, because while I am building Terralion, I have a suspicion that Anduin's going to abdicate his throne and he's going to change his armor. So as soon as I see that his armor has changed, Terralion is full stop, and it's going to be crafting Anduin, which Anduin will probably have to be foam because there's no 3D printed armor for his, if he has a new armor set. I might go to, Boston Comic Con and New York Comic Con or something like that. But my next planned event is BlizzCon. Socials, you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Khel Cosplay.
Oh boy, do I have so many things I'm working on all at the same time. I think you can see
Yes,
parts of
she's a busy girl.
This is the 4th time I've made Zolototh. We've got a new Zolototh coming out. I'm working on Lady Liadrin, her Hearthstone version. I'm working on 2 different Sylvanases, a couple Overwatch things. Oh, Anduin is still in the works, also from Hearthstone. I'll be guesting in Memphis, Tennessee next month. So that's exciting. They're really nice. I pop up at events on a whim. That seems to be my thing now, where people are like, are you gonna be at a con? I'm like, I don't know. And then I just pop out of nowhere and they're like, you could call someone. I'm like, or I can keep going.
I can't wait to see that. Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram, X, Blue Sky, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at Darklady Cosplay.
Alrighty. Thank you guys.
Thank you for the invitation.
Love.
And there you have it. The Lady Sylvanas and the Anduin. I hope that our chat was informative to anyone who doesn't know anything about cosplay and maybe you want to see what it's like behind the scenes of cosplay. And I hope our chat was informative to people who are trying to cosplay or want to get into cosplay, or, someone who's new out there and wants to know what it's like to be a professional cosplayer. This has been your Mistress Minty. I hope that you comment, like, and subscribe and let me know if we talked about anything that you didn't know, or maybe we helped bolster your confidence going on in the future. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.